I kick this kick shield 100 times, will I become more powerful? And we can talk about that a little bit later on. So we just want to show you the first slide. So this is the first journey. So these are very young students, 5 years old, 6. So what I'm trying to do is relate what I do, where we teach multiple groups, multiple ages in the same classroom, and then maybe you can relate that to something that you do as well. By taking that first step, some of them can reach the top, and these two girls here, they started with me when they were 5 years old, the same age as those small kids. And this young girl is 17, she just won the World Championship over in Italy, and the one next to her is 16, she got silver in the World Championships as well. So from 5 years old, they managed to progress through Taekwondo and stay the course, stay the journey, which is the most important thing, and we can produce the top class players. Teach them multiple ages, multiple levels, classes in the same session. Okay, the things that we need to consider when we're doing this is the age of the student. So in my classes we have different age groups. So we have Pee-wee groups, we call them, and these are age 5 to 11 years old, and they will be in the same class. And then we try to, at 12, change them into the more teenage adult sessions. So then we have the teenage and the adult sessions, and the teenagers are mixed with the adults, just simply because they're they are, what should I say, second high school, yeah. They're in high school, so when they reach high school, they don't want to mix with the primary school kids. So even at 11 years old or 12 years old, we try and push them up into the adult sessions, and they prefer them a lot more because they're with the teenagers, people from the same school as they go to, and they prefer this. We have grades, so many different grades within the group. So from white belt, the beginners, we can have all the way up to black belt training in the same room. And obviously male and female students, we have to also be careful when we train these, because in the younger development, for the 5 to 11 year olds, we find that a lot of boys don't want to partner girls, a lot of girls don't want to partner boys, so we try and change that around a little bit. And also at the teenage level, certainly girls don't want to be mixing with boys, boys don't want to be mixing with girls at that level. The key objectives today: body position, tone of voice, intrinsic and extrinsic motivations, and the training program. Body position. Again, like in any sort of teaching, is important for you to see most of the class when you're working out. This is very difficult when you're teaching young children from 5 to 11 years old, because if you take your mind off the younger children, they tend to start messing around. So at all times we must be very careful not to allow us to do that. The story, only yesterday we had a situation where the children were holding kick shields. I looked the other way, and the next thing, one of the children had a bloody nose, so they were bleeding all over the place. I didn't know how they received this because I wasn't looking. I was looking in the opposite direction, and so therefore I had 5 and 6 year old children trying to tell me a story about how this nosebleed occurred. Fortunately, it wasn't too serious. He was holding the kick shield, somebody kicked it, and he went and punched himself in the nose. But also in my classes as well, I allow the parents to watch. So it's very important that I understand the story, otherwise the parents will start to get on my back a little bit about how I teach them. Exercise. Where's the best position for me to be during the training session? So generally it's very important for me to be on the edge of the room when I'm walking around, and this can cause problems where we have to talk to a student one-to-one and we want to give them some development and some information about their training. So it's very important for me not to turn away from the rest of the class, but to position myself in a place where I can talk to the student. At the same time, I can be aware of what's happening in the rest of the class whilst we're training. and what are my options if a child gets injured. Fortunately, we have also assistant instructors, and we have parents that are around, so I can maybe bring them in if someone does get injured. But as long as the injury is not too serious, I can maybe sit the children down, try and calm the situation down, deal with the situation, and then carry on with the training. So my tone of voice, this can help motivate children. So by shouting louder or by being quiet, sometimes can motivate the children in different ways. I can help use my tone of voice to control the children and to get them to go where I want them to go. I can direct the children through a task by using my tone of voice, by increasing and decreasing my level. And I can scare the children, which is what I don't really want to do. So in my experience, if I shout too loud, the children can get put off by me, and they don't want to come. Unlike a formal school training, they have to go to it, whereas in Taekwondo they have a choice of coming to the training class. So I have to be very careful at how I run the class. I have to try and keep the discipline, but sometimes you can shout too loud and you can scare one or two children, so I have to be careful of this. I can use incentives to help with the training. Intrinsic, so it's the internal rewards that they receive from the training, and this is from children all the way up to adult level. They can all receive these rewards, and the extrinsic rewards, the external rewards that we can give people. We can explain them as we go along. So intrinsic motivation is important at all levels. We find that we give a badge out to children for what they did, but we never give a badge out to adults for what they have done. And sometimes adults also respond to receiving a badge or a sticker just as much as a child will respond, and they feel just as like they've accomplished something. They feel very happy about that. So these are our age groups within our classes. So again, age 5 to 10 is the primary school age, 11 to 15 high school, and when they reach 16, 17 college, so we need to change the way we treat them in the classrooms. 18 to 35 is the competition age, and if they're interested in competition, we're trying to drive them towards competition level at this age. And over 35, probably outside the competition age now, but we still want to keep them involved in Taekwondo, so they will go down more talking about the martial arts side of Taekwondo, which is the self-defense side, and we need to give them also goals and set different ways that they can train and how they can achieve within the Taekwondo structure. So it's not just for the younger ones. So here's an exercise that we want to do. Which age group would you like the following to do? So if you look down this list, what I'd like you to do is take a few moments just to have a think about it, and I want you to think about which of the ages would like this type of thing, going from a 5-year-old kid all the way up to adult and even into more senior ages. So I want you to do maybe an exercise, if that's okay?
Yeah.
Yeah? So if we can think of the children 5 to 10 years old, which of these would they be interested in, or would you think they would be interested in?
Friends.
Fun, yes, and they want to make new friends. Yeah,
New friends
it's very
and fun.
important. Yeah,
Flexibility.
yeah. Sometimes the physical element of the training is not something that the children would be overly interested in. Although all children want to try and develop and try to be better than the next person. But yeah, certainly fun, they want to have lots of fun and they want to enjoy the classes. If they're not having fun, then they won't come back the next week. And if they can meet new friends and they can enjoy themselves, it's another motivation for them to come to the classes every week because they feel part of the club. Fitness, flexibility, balance, self-confidence, self-defense, the competition aspect. Again, some children will be motivated by the competition, but other children will be put off by the competition. So it's a fine line to sort of like challenging the children, and at the same time also noting that some of the children won't be interested in challenges and get put off by this. So we've got to try and work a system where we can create it for both levels. And discipline, the children won't like the discipline, maybe the parents will, and it will help with their daily lives. So we have the teenage groups. Which ones are these things with teenagers?
Self-defense.
Yeah. Definitely. So a lot of fitness, yeah, for sure.
Self-confidence.
Self-confidence.
Competition.
Competition, yeah.
Balance.
So most of these things a teenager would like to gain, you know, yeah. And then maybe with male and female, slightly different. The girls would certainly like to work on their self-defense, and maybe they join Taekwondo for self-defense. Boys tend to join the Taekwondo to improve their fitness levels and things like this. But definitely we can and also introduce them into the competition. They can understand the competition more, so maybe we can get them involved if they're interested. But definitely they also want to have some fun, otherwise they won't come along, and they also want to meet new friends. So again, the same things apply for the younger ones. So if they meet new friends, they can, again, if they're involved in the classes, they'll come back and enjoy the training more. And so the adults, what would the adults like?
Fitness.
Self-confidence.
Self-confidence.
Self-confidence, yeah.
Competition.
Discipline.
Discipline.
And get fun too. Yes, I think if you don't get fun, you don't like anything.
So again, a lot of things, yeah, they need to enjoy it. Yeah. They like to meet new friends. Adults like to meet new friends as well.
Yes, almost everything.
Again, just about everything, yeah. And this is, so we're talking about adults 18 to 35 years old, so, you know, maybe they also would be interested in competition and the discipline. People, adults also like the discipline of the training and the program and to do something in their lives that means something for them. And then for the over 35s,
Self-defense.
again, self-defense, yeah. Fitness.
Balance.
Discipline also. I think you can fit all of them also in over 35.
Yeah.
Not the competition probably is not a thing, but all of them. I think you can.
Yeah, sometimes the competition, some people like the competition still and feel like they can do the competition. You know, we do have competitions for the over 35s to involve them in that type of thing if they like that sort of thing. But again, this list is very important from the aspect that we are trying to involve all age groups in our sport, in Taekwondo. So we have to have a varied amount of things that are happening within the classes to get them involved and for them to enjoy it. So a 5-year-old can enjoy the fun and the new friends aspects, and as we go through, everybody can enjoy something on that list, which brings them in and keeps them engaged. And these are all intrinsic motivations, because they don't receive rewards for these. And they say that if you are intrinsically motivated to go and do something, then you'll be more involved, you'll enjoy the exercise more if you can get them involved in that sort of, rather than extrinsic motivations. But that's fine, we're going to go on to extrinsic motivations now. We just finished that bit, so
Okay.
perfect, yeah? Okay.
Okay.
So the extrinsic motivation is slightly different in that we have to try to reward the children for doing something, or the adults for doing something. Everybody enjoys receiving an extrinsic reward for what they're doing. So again, we're going to go ready to go if you know some of the kicking technique and some of the other aspects of the Taekwondo. So we give them 3 goals to aim for, and so we can get some tape on the belt. The A-pass badges, so when you go to the grading tests, if you get over 80% in the grading, you'll receive an A-pass badge which you can sew on your uniform, and it's kind of a bit of a kudos thing. They enjoy getting these badges. the black belt. Obviously, a lot of people who take up Taekwondo or take up martial arts, they take it up generally not wanting to be a black belt. Most people who take up martial arts, they want to be that black belt and wear this black belt. So this is one of the long-term goals, is to reach black belt. Competitions and medals, so they can receive medals from going into competition. But also the reason why it was in the intrinsic competition was in the intrinsic, is I'll explain later that we also have competitions where there's no medals. There's just enjoyment and that their friends clapping them and saying well done, so that they can also win and not receive anything, but enjoy the feeling of winning. Student of the Year awards, so at the end of each year we give out various awards for most improved student, student of the year and things like this, and this also keeps them engaged. It gives them something to look forward to at the end of the year and the possibilities that they could receive the award. And then all again with all these categories, they're all split into the age groups and into male and female, so as many people as possible can receive Student of the Year, as many people as possible can receive a medal in competition. So we just don't want it to be one person, so only one person enjoys that feeling. We want to try and get as many people enjoying the feeling of receiving something to try and keep them more motivated. So we have the grade system in Taekwondo. If you're not so sure about what Taekwondo is and what we do in Taekwondo, it's a Korean martial art, and there are 9 colour belt grades and there are 9 black belt grades. So this is the balance, yin and yang. We have a nice balance between the black belt and the colour belt. During the colour belt phase, we see this as teaching you the alphabet, your ABCs, and this program only lasts about 3 years, depending on how committed you are to the training. You can reach the black belt in 3 years and go through those 9 colour belt grades. I say rainbows are for 7 years old and under. They have extra grades that they have to get to because at that age they can't perform a lot of the techniques, but we still want them to keep them engaged, so we'll add 5 extra gradings within there, and we'll water down the grading syllabus a little bit so it's a bit easier for them, so they can still achieve. So it doesn't matter what age you are, you're still achieving all the way through. The black belt grades, so we teach you how to read and write at this level, and this is a 35-year program. So somebody who wants to reach, go from the lowest black belt to the highest black belt grade, it will take you about 35 years. Again, if you stay focused and stay training, and this is quite a long time. We see the black belt grades as degrees. So the 1st to 3rd degree black belt, we call these beginners. So a lot of people who reach black belt immediately think they're an expert, and we try and water that down and tell them that they're not experts, but they are beginners in Taekwondo, and they've reached this level, which is very nice. But now we want them to train even harder and to understand the techniques and the movements of Taekwondo, and just try and get involved in the Taekwondo world a lot more. 4th to 6th degree, we class these as an expert in Taekwondo, someone who has a lot of knowledge and can also break down the technique and understand the technique and teach people power and strength and reasons why you would use the techniques. 7th and 8th degree is a master, and the 9th degree, the grandmaster. There's not many of those about. They're normally very old by the time you reach that stage. So this is the grading system that we employ. Yin and yang, the balance. In Taekwondo we have the philosophy. So the first pattern, Chonji, means heaven and earth. So we are starting at heaven, coming down to earth. And so this is our colour belt system. And it only takes 3 years to get down to earth, very, very fast. And then from this position here, we have a pattern, Kwange, and we start in this position here. We look back to heaven through heavenly hands, and we now go on our track all the way back to heaven. It takes a long time to get there. Competitions. Like I explained earlier, when people win a medal, they feel on top of the world, and it doesn't matter. We have, in many cases, children who maybe there's only 4 people in their group, so we give out 2 bronze medals, 1 silver medal, 1 gold medal, and everyone receives a medal. And some of these children receive the medal for losing, so they get the bronze medal, but because they were the only ones there and they didn't have to win it, it doesn't take away the fact that they've got this bronze medal, and they feel very happy, and their parents feel very happy. So this motivation is very good for them to win this medal. Again, with our competition structure, we like to give as many medals out as possible, so everyone goes away happy when we do a competition. It's important though for us to so we have many categories in the competitions and many levels of competition, and I'll just show you those now. Okay, so in the club, I was talking about the intrinsic competitions. There's no rewards for it, just kudos. So when we're training them, we like to do competitions like the flying high kick competition. So I hold this pad and the kids will jump, and we'll see who can get the highest kick. Okay, and when they're out, they will sit down and they will watch and they will cheer the people on to try and get them to jump higher. We've split them into different age groups, and all the children enjoy this exercise. And at the end, the person who wins is very happy. And we can also do this with the pattern, the technique. But instead of me refereeing the technique, I get the children to referee the technique, or the students to referee the technique. I don't referee, and they choose who they think is the best person. It's not always the right one, but they enjoy it, and the kids who then also are successful, they enjoy it because it's their peers that are picking them as the best student, so they feel happy in this. And also the same thing with the sparring. We can do similar things. The sparring is the fighting style of Taekwondo, but what I try and do is allow the students to referee themselves, in a sense. So this rather than it's just me always saying, oh, he's the best, or he's the best, and so they can learn from this as well. They can learn sometimes a little bit more about the technique because they're watching the movements and all this. They can learn to understand Taekwondo a lot more from this process. We have the regional competitions. So I was talking about the competition levels. It's important to have lots of different levels. So certainly at club level, loads of children. So if we had 100 children, maybe at club level, 80 children can win a medal, which is very good. And at regional level, maybe we've got 60. And at English level, British level, maybe it goes down to 40, and so on. But we want to get tournaments in there where basically our grassroots, our beginners, can also enjoy the tournaments and also have this opportunity to win medals at a very low level. So it's very important to have this, but also then for the better students, it's very important for us to go up into the English, the British, and international, European and World Championships, and to give them that option that there's a progression that they can go through. Competition categories. Also, we have the competitions, and within the competitions we have many categories. The patterns is the technical side of Taekwondo. It's non-contact, so a lot of people enjoy this tournament, and everybody can enter this tournament. It's non-aggressive. It's just again doing the movements and see who can do the movements the best. So everyone can enter this type of tournament. And the sparring is the more aggressive tournament. It's the fighting. To see who's the best at fighting. Again, there'll be a group of people who enjoy fighting, so they'll enjoy these tournaments. The special technique, it's the flying techniques. You have to be very good at jumping up in the air, so they can fly and kick this side. So in the World Championships, just above the ceiling level was for the flying high kick for the teenage girls. This was their starting level, and so they can fly up and kick the pad and jump back down again. So who's the best? The power technique, again, it's very specialised. It's where we teach them how to break boards, mainly adults, and kick boards to demonstrate their power. to see how strong they are and see how strong their technique is. And we have the individual championships of all these and the team championships of all these, all the different age groups, Pee-wees, the juniors, the adults, the veterans. So again, you can see in a competition, we can send at least half the competition home with a medal. So they feel very, very happy. And it means that they'll come on to the next competition. So all the time we're trying to give them incentives to try and keep them involved and try and keep them engaged in these championships. Because we know eventually they can it can be very good for their life if they stay training in the martial arts, the Taekwondo. Good sportsmanship is also a very important thing that we try and teach them, and that's why we are very competition orientated. It's important that the winners are sporting about winning and they don't brag about it. And with younger children, we tend to see this a lot. They will go around and they will be sometimes not very nice about it, and we have to teach them that winning is, you have to be very happy when you win, but also be gracious and not brag about it. Losing is very important. I don't think in a lot of children's life they learn to lose. So we make sure that they that part of it's very important, the losing side of it, and how they adapt to losing, and how they can train to then one day win. We want them to feel that losing isn't a negative thing as well, that they can learn from losing. So we try and teach the kids from 5 years old up, all age groups, that this type of thing is, or losing is good if you use it in a positive way. So in some of the age groups, say 5 to 7 is the age group for the sparring, for the competition. So obviously 5-year-olds find it very difficult to beat 7-year-olds. It's quite difficult at their age group. But we try to get them to do the competition at 5 to gain the experience. Then when they're 6 years old, they'll be a little bit stronger and maybe they can win a medal. And at 7 years old, they'll be obviously the oldest in the group, so maybe the biggest and the strongest. So maybe they could win a gold medal at this level. But only if at 5 years old they started to learn how to train. So when they lose, it doesn't feel so bad to them, because we say, oh, you're only 5 years old. When you're 7, you'll be the highest in that category. The roles will have changed, and you'll be able to compete with these children and win the medals. And then when they're 8, they go into the lowest category again, so they're losing again. And then by the time they're 10, which is 8 to 10 years old, again they're winning again. So they feel very happy. So losing is never a negative thing for us. Taking part or competing, it's great that they take part, but I always try and make sure that they're taking part to win. Yeah, I try to train the children to, or the adults, everybody. I keep saying children, but I mean all age ranges. That winning or trying to do your best is important. Not necessarily winning, but trying to do your best is very important in training. In your life, so in any walks of life, this is very important when you go for a job interview. It's very important. So if we can teach them that taking part is good, but actually trying your best is more important. It's more important that they try to win, even if they don't quite make it. Good experience. So we want everybody to have a good experience when they do the training. So if we see someone who's very upset, then we have to go over to them and we want to try to turn the situation round into a good story rather than a bad story if they feel they've lost or they haven't quite made it. Because most children, when they're younger, will be a little upset when they lose, because they wanted the medal. So all they can see is the medal. So we try and change the situation around. We have to coach them in a different way and just say to them, it's not the winning, but it's the competing as much as you can, the strongest that you can do. Bad experience, everyone can win. Competitors' ego and parents' ego. Sometimes we have to deal with this. So some children will lose and they'll go off the ring throwing their hat away and they're very angry. And in other cases, the parents will be very angry that the child has lost, and they'll be coming down and talking to us about this. And so it's very difficult. We have to control everybody, but we also have to explain. So a lot of people will tell the parents. I know in some martial arts or some competitions that I've been in, they just dismiss the parents and they tell them to go, or they'll shout at the competitor when he goes off the ring. But we try and talk them down and explain. So if we can explain to the parents why the child lost, the other one won, and then they'll go away with a more positive experience. Whereas if they go away angry, they may never come back, and so we've lost a member. You know, so we don't want to lose the member. We want to, again, feel a lot calmer. Which is the most important motivation? So the class structure, the fitness and the training benefits, the fun in the games, and the development. Okay, so the class structure is very important. If you have a good structure within your class, then this can be very motivational for the children. We definitely have to, with the younger ones, have to change it a lot. Every 10 minutes we have to change the exercise to stop them from getting bored. And if we don't do that, if we stick on the same program, we just do the same thing all the time, we never change it round, these classes become very boring for the adults and the children, and you'll find that your class will be very small and you'll lose members. The fitness and the training benefits, we always try to tell people about the fitness and the training benefits, so that it becomes an intrinsic motivation for them to come along to the training, even if they're not winning medals. The fun in the games, again, as I said before, it was their choice to be there, so we have to make sure that they enjoy themselves and they go away with a good experience. And development's very important. We know that in my experience, I have instructors that train their children, don't give their children a good ground base within the sport of Taekwondo, but this can relate to any area of society. And what happens is after maybe 6 months or 12 months, they see that their peers are taking over them and looking much stronger, and they just leave because they feel that they're not good enough, and they don't enjoy the Taekwondo. So for us it's very important to have that base and to always revisit the base as well. So we want to always teach them the ground, the basics of Taekwondo, and we always train the basics of Taekwondo every single lesson. Even if sometimes that's a little bit boring for them, we want them to have that really strong base, and later on, as they go up to black belt level, they'll find that that really helps them with their training. If they feel that they're rubbish at any time because maybe the instructor hasn't focused enough on that sort of that part of the training, the basic technique or the basic movements of any of the subjects, then after 6 months, 12 months, maybe even 2 years, the child will realise, or the adult will realise, that they're just not good enough. They feel they're just not good enough and they'll just leave, and they won't tell you why. So if you take care of the Taekwondo training, then the children will stay. So a lot of people will think about making money, and so if I can get to 50 people in, I can make £4 off each one, that's great, I can make loads of money. And this, but this doesn't really work, because if the training's not very good, they'll all leave and you'll lose all your business. So it's very important to make sure that whatever subject you're teaching, is that you're good at this subject, and that this is really good. If this is really good and you're a really good teacher, then they'll want to come and talk to you, they'll want to come and train with you, you'll get a good name for yourself, and the business side of it will take care of itself, so you shouldn't have to worry about things like that. The most important thing is the actual subject that you teach. So class structure, learning, training, and the technical side. This is how we run our classes. Each one of these is split into third periods. So the colour belt, who is training for their next belt, will spend 3 months training. So we'll give them a learning process. They have a new syllabus to learn. They have a new pattern. Our patterns are just our techniques that we do, and these are a sequence of movements that they have to learn. So we just focus on that. They're taught by anybody who knows the pattern. So I encourage my 6-year-olds, or to teach the 5-year-olds, my 7-year-olds to teach the 6-year-olds, my 8-year-olds to teach them, and I get everybody teaching, and that leaves me free. So, but it's very important for the development of the young student. If they know the pattern and they can teach the pattern to somebody else, then they suddenly start to improve their technique. So they make sure that they're in the correct position because they know that this person's looking at them and they're showing the movement. So for us, it's a real good opportunity for us to develop the young grade, or I say the young child, but it could be anyone, the young level. So a green belt would train a yellow belt, which is lower, and a blue belt would train a green belt, and a red belt would train a blue belt. And so all the way, it's not just the instructor that's coaching or teaching, but it's everyone's involved in the teaching process. And this is how we can train many groups, many ages in the same room, because we get everybody involved in teaching. So the more experienced ones will help the less experienced ones, and this will develop their taekwondo. Introduce students to instructing. It gives the students responsibility. They feel also with the young black belts, we have 9 and 10-year-old black belts. For them to be engaged and keep training, because many people will reach black belt and we found that they leave, and one of the reasons why they wanted a black belt is to put it on their CV, so when they leave school it looks good. So we want to keep them involved when they reach black belt, because it's when they start really learning taekwondo. So this, by giving them a little bit of responsibility and saying we'd like you to teach, they feel a little bit about themselves. And at the same time, what it allows me to do is stand back and watch everybody and make sure they are teaching it correctly. But at this phase, the learning phase, the first 4 weeks, it doesn't matter whether they're teaching it correctly or not, as long as they're doing something that helps the other person develop their taekwondo, improves their self-confidence, improves their technique through example. The student practices all the patterns continuously. So in the training phase, we have to go from, when I talked about also always being training at the basics, we have to go back to the basics. We have to train. In taekwondo there are 24 patterns, and these patterns are in philosophy. We say that once you've learned one pattern, you must practice this 1 hour a day, and once you've learned all 24 patterns, this is 24 hours a day, and this means all your life. So once you've learned all the patterns, taekwondo is now taking over your life. We want them to train once. So if they're a green belt and they're training for their new grading syllabus, in the training phase we want them to go back to white belt and work on this pattern and the next pattern and all the way back up to green belt. So we're also reinforcing their basic training and making sure that they work on this. By doing the patterns over and over again, it improves their fluency, their timing, which is very important for the power of the technique, their strength, because they're doing exercise, it's very tiring, their fitness level, their balance and their coordination, which are very important for all sports. So we find that people that train in martial arts can develop a good strategy for all sports, good balance. The final session is the technical session, so this is the last 4 weeks before their grading exam. At this point we want to try and teach them some of the technical side of the movement, and this is mainly done by the top instructor, head instructors. So we don't have all the little kids teaching the technique because they don't know it. So we will then try and show them some of the basic techniques to try and increase their power, make them look a little bit better, sharpen them up for the next grading test. Also, it's very important to, at this level, to take on board the technique. If we are showing somebody a new technique, say something that's very difficult like this, then the coordination to do this exercise and to actually think about both hands and where both hands go and the movement of this exercise is very difficult. So in the first 4 weeks of training, we're not too bothered about what they do, so they can do it any sort of way they want. But then after we've gone through the training phase and they've maybe done this exercise quite a lot, then in this phase we can start saying, oh yeah, your hand needs to be here, this needs to rotate, needs to be level with the shoulder, things like that, and we can start talking to them about the technical side of this movement. Fundamental movements of the pattern. This is where we can take out the movements that are very difficult for them, try and take them out of the pattern and make them do it many times over, 20, 30 times, just to try and get them used to that movement, and then we'll put the movement back into the pattern so we can train. How to generate power in the movements. Obviously everybody wants to be powerful when they're doing taekwondo, and so we want to, if we can improve their technique, we can improve their power. And the application of the movements, why they do the movements. So again, sometimes in our life we can teach people what to do, but unless they know why you're doing it, then it doesn't becomes just a waste of time, really. So we want to show them why we do this and why this position is here, and the application of this movement is against an opponent who wants to kick you, and so we want to put this in this position, but why at this angle and things like that, so we can explain to them the background behind the technique and why we do the technique in this way, and how we generate our power from this technique, and where we can go from there. So I'm nearly finished. I'm aware that I'm just talking, so sorry about that. We're going to do an exercise. So what I want you to do is go into little groups and do this exercise just for a bit of fun, so that I'm not talking at you all the time. If you want. So this exercise is learning how to punch, and these are the teaching points of learning how to punch. So just this is a very basic exercise that we would do with our beginners, and so when we're punching, we want to have our thumbs on the outside. Some people have their thumbs on the inside. If you do this, you can break your thumb. So we want to have thumbs on the outside. Reaction. So the non-punching hand is going to move to the hip as the punching hand moves out into the punch. And we're going to do this. So the rotation, both fists rotate at the end of the movement. So we're going to rotate at the end of the movement. We're going to see if we can get this going. Punching at the end of the movement. And the direction of the punch, so we're always punching to the middle, so we're not punching over here, here, here. So we're always punching the centre line. And what I want you to do, okay, I'll do it first with you, with all of you, and then what I want you to do is self-evaluate yourselves by turning to your partner and watching them do the punch, and then see if you can see something that's going wrong that might relate to these teaching points. Okay, so from there, and the other hand is up, one hand's down and one hand's up, and the thumb's here. So not inside, but outside. That's good. And then when we punch, we pull one hand back and one hand forward. This is our reaction. So, and then what we're trying to do also is to rotate the technique at the end of the movement. And this creates the speed of the movement. So, if we can make the move go faster, we can increase the power. So as we pull back, reaction and rotation. Morning exercise. And then we also want to punch to the centre, our centre line, right in front of us. So we don't want to punch it over here. Right to the middle there. If we can do all those, we do well. Right, okay, now turn to your partners and let them punch first, and then, well, one of you punches and one of you evaluate. See if you can. See if they're doing something different. One punches, one watch.
Oh, watch.
Yeah, it could be on the centre line, so it could be.
Come on, boys, girls.
Yeah, all levels good. That's good. So one person punches and one person just watches. Yeah? So one person punches and one person just watches.
Mangoes.
And then that person then can correct by using.
Come on, girls. Yeah. Come on.
Someone is watching what I am doing.
Yes.
Because it's easier to do it by myself. There is only one who evaluates.
Yes, yeah. You got it.
Yeah, okay. Let's try once more.
She's very polite. Now this is very interesting. You will see me in your class.
just talk all the time.
You will see me in your class.
Yes, yeah, you'll enjoy it.
But I'm sorry that you didn't take seriously because I think it's important.
Been to one session can teach somebody who's never been, because they'll know a little bit more than that. Yeah, so just by you guys interacting then and teaching each other, then right away you were teaching Taekwondo. That's great.
It's harder if someone is evaluating it. It's harder to do it. Yeah.
Well, you want to be correct.
Yeah.
Suddenly, oh, I got it right. I hope they give me a sticker. I'm really good. So we're talking about a lesson plan earlier. Change what you're doing every 10 to 15 minutes. People get bored at just doing the same thing. Mix brain work with physical activity. So sometimes if we're talking about technique a lot and we're saying this needs to be at this angle, this 15 degrees, and okay. But you can't then, and now this one, and now this one. We have to change. So then we have to go and, okay, now let's go and hit some pads and do some training. And then we'll go back to some technical work again. So if we're changing it from working the brain to then the physical side of it, where people are enjoying the fitness side of it as well, then that's a nice combination for them. They can enjoy it. High tempo, low tempo. So again, there's no use doing a high tempo exercise and the heart rate's very high. We then need to do a low tempo exercise to bring it down, because there's different levels of fitness within the group as well. So as well as age and the male and female and the levels, white belt to black belt, we have to be careful. So we have to have high tempo, because the black belts that are training with us, they want to see the high tempo as well. We have to then have low tempo, so the white belts get time to have a breather, relax. And a game at the end of every session leaves everybody leaving with a smile. Also with the adults like to play games, not just the kids. So all ages, yeah. And the 5-year-olds, they love the games. So, but the adults love the games as well. So it's nice for the adults to play games. So going back to my statement at the beginning, if I kick this kick shield 100 times, will I become more powerful? Of course, if I kick the kick shield and I'm a beginner, I will gain fitness. Okay, I'll gain leg strength. So right away I will see those things. But I won't necessarily become more powerful because I need to learn the technique of the movement. So the technique is very, very important. To try and get the outcome, which is to be powerful. So just kicking the kick shield 100 times, it doesn't always work. And thanks for listening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Does anyone have
I
any questions?
have one question.
Yeah, please.
How can you manage with the stress before the competition? Do you need psychological help, or do some meditation or affirmations? For example, I'm the best, I can do it, and so on.
Yeah, it's just well, it's first of all managing their expectation. So maybe before they go in, they're not. If I expect them to win the gold medal, then I put too much expectation on them. and so I have to keep them nice and relaxed. But the main thing about competition is to do it. The more competitions that you do, the more you'll get used to the nerves and the tension and the stress. So if somebody has only done their first competition, I won't put too much expectation. I won't say, oh, well, we should be winning. And the second one, the third one, the fourth one, and maybe they win a bronze medal. Oh, that's great. Some of the hardest things that we have to do are with people who win a gold medal the first time out. Then the second time they're out in the first round, they lose. And it's trying to, their expectation if they win a gold medal is very high in their mind when they go in. So no matter what I say, they think they can win the gold medal again, and then they lose. And this is very difficult. So but you have to also give them some positive, like I said, if you can get a positive outcome saying, well, you know, this guy is very good, he won a gold medal last year as well, you know, you're up against a higher age group, you know, it's difficult for you at this time, rather than me saying, oh, well, you didn't win the gold medal, that's not very nice. So I want them to go away with a positive experience.
It's never late to start.
No, Taekwondo is for everybody. Like I said, for whatever age group we have to try and cater for all those age groups. And if a 60-year-old wants to start Taekwondo, it's good for them because they will gain fitness, flexibility, coordination, and all these things are very important when you're older in life. So for a 60-year-old starting Taekwondo, they can gain all these things. Maybe they won't be a grandmaster, or maybe they won't be a world champion, but they will benefit from the fitness level, the strength, training. Yeah, and also the self-defense. Obviously, they will learn the techniques and movements. Maybe not too much against, you know, blocking each other and things like this because they don't really want to do that. But if they ever had to use it, they would have some sort of.
But it's a special techniques for teach those targets or groups.
The older?
Yes.
No. From 5 years old to 60, it's the same. It's the same process. But of course, if I ask the class to do 100 press-ups, whether you're 60 or whether you're 5 years old, yeah, if you're not so fit, then maybe you'll only do 5 press-ups. But I have to cater also for the super fit ones, and they may do the 100 press-ups. So whatever I do in the class, I always make sure that they, while I'm challenging them with the fitness exercise, I make sure that the people who are not so fit, and it doesn't matter whether you're 60 or whether you're 18. Yeah, I have 18-year-olds who are really.
I'm 60.
No, I'm not saying that. No, just having
I hope to get
I'm
there.
master brain.
I'm 60.
Well, we have 18-year-olds that are very unfit, and we have 60-year-olds that are very fit. You know, we have a grandmaster who tours the world training. He is 73 years old. This grandmaster, and he can do more press-ups than anybody, more sit-ups than anybody, star jumps. He kicks up here. He's very, very, very impressive. You know, he can kick more than anybody in the room, and this is hundreds of black belts in the room. This guy, and he's 73 years old. So, age has no limitation.
Are there any health requirements or special care from a doctor? You can do it.
If somebody says something, we give them a form, and if they say that they have a condition, then if we're not sure about the condition, we'll ask for a doctor's note. But again, heart conditions, things like that, just have to be careful, like in any form of exercise. But yeah, we'll ask for if they have a heart condition, we'll ask for a doctor's note, so that covers us a little bit. Great.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Miley.
Thank you.
That was great.